My brother's new wife said her religious parents would hate my boyfriend and I at the wedding, so I didn't go, but now my parents found out afterward. Chaos erupted at the party, and my brother came yelling at me for ruining everything even though I was just cuddling on my couch. Posted by you/charming_educator612. So my brother's wedding happened 2 days ago, and it turned into complete chaos, which I know even though I wasn't there. You might wonder why I didn't attend the wedding if it's my brother's. Well, it's because of his wife's family. He did send me an invitation to the wedding because he wanted me there, but his fiancée told him I couldn't attend because I had a boyfriend. You might be confused, but I'm a man, a bisexual man to be exact, and I have a boyfriend who I wanted to bring to the wedding. She said that even though she didn't have a problem with that, and he didn't have a problem with that, her extremely religious parents, who had already forced her to have the wedding in a church, would most likely banish us from the wedding and cause trouble between our families. After she told him that, my brother told me I couldn't attend and explained why. You might think I was angry. The truth is I was relieved. I hate going to big events with lots of people because of my social anxiety, and I was already used to not being able to attend certain events because of my sexuality, so it was nothing I hadn't heard before. On the day of the wedding, I stayed at home with my boyfriend. It's worth mentioning that my parents apparently didn't know I wasn't attending the wedding. I was chilling at home, cuddling with my boyfriend, when I suddenly got a text message from my parents asking me where I was because they couldn't find me at the wedding party. I told them I wasn't attending the wedding and asked if my brother had told them anything. They said no and asked me what happened. I didn't see any reason to lie, so I sent them a text message explaining exactly why. I have to admit I don't exactly know what happened after I sent them this message because they read it but didn't reply. And why did they care in the first place? They didn't notice I wasn't there until the wedding was already over. They only noticed when the wedding party started. However, apparently, my parents talked to my brother about it, and all of a sudden, my absence became the main topic of the wedding party. From what I heard, two fronts formed. On one hand, my parents and the rest of my family were against the family of my brother's wife, and apparently, he, as a husband now, felt compelled to take her side and tried to argue in her favor. It's crazy to think that I was just sitting at home, living my best life with my boyfriend, while all of that chaos went down at his wedding. The wedding party was ruined, and my brother appeared at my door angrily, screaming at me, asking why I felt the need to ruin his wedding. I was confused and asked him what happened, and he told me everything. I told him it wasn't my intention. I had just told our parents what happened because they didn't know and wanted to know where I was, and I thought he had told them beforehand. He screamed at me that I ruined his wedding. I told him it's not my fault he wasn't honest with them. I had just respected their wish for me not to attend the wedding. I couldn't have known it would go down like this because, as I said, I couldn't attend several events before because of my sexuality, and my parents never said anything about it, so I thought it would be the same here. But I have to admit, it's kind of sweet that my parents and the rest of my family stood up for me. They hadn't done it before, and that's a more than welcome change. But I still feel kind of bad because apparently, I really did ruin the wedding party. Update 1, 2 days later. I didn't think I'd give an update, but many interesting things happened. After my brother's visit, he and his wife went on their honeymoon, and the way the wedding party went might have been even worse than I imagined. What happens now is incredible. When I said in the main post that two fronts had formed, I only meant that metaphorically, of course, but it's no longer that. While nothing much interesting happened in the first 2 days afterwards, the terror started as soon as my brother and his wife went on their honeymoon. My mom and dad visited me and told me how the wedding party escalated and that they were so close to physical violence. I thought it was funny at first, but this truly bothers me. I also want to point out that you did a great job convincing me it's not my fault, but hearing my parents' side still gave me a bad feeling in my stomach. However, as I said, the terror started shortly after they went on their honeymoon. And when I say terror, I mean that my sister-in-law's family found both my Facebook and Instagram accounts and started spamming me with hateful messages. I received insults and hateful messages from various different accounts, which all had one thing in common. They all had somewhat of a Christian theme, and they all had the same last name. So it wasn't hard to figure out whose accounts they were, mainly because I don't know my sister-in-law's family at all. I only know her, and I know her parents were homophobic Christians. But whatever. They not only started attacking me, they also found my boyfriend's account through my account because we're linked as a couple, and they started sending him the same messages. The messages contained, on one side, typical bigoted stuff like you're burning in hell for your sins. One even called me and my boyfriend two devils in disguise. The other side were just blatant insults. You get the idea. I called my parents and told them what they were doing. Then I sent a text message to my brother with screenshots of the messages his wife's family sent me, to which he replied that I shouldn't disturb him with that during his honeymoon as I already destroyed his wedding party. I couldn't believe it. He was just like them. He did send me an apology after my mom told me she called him, but none of this is the main reason I'm giving you this update this early. Because I got a call this morning from an unknown number. I hesitated because I thought it was one of them. And I was right, but it was none of the people who insulted me. I heard a woman's voice who introduced herself as the half-sister of my brother's wife. She said it didn't go unnoticed what her family was doing and that she wanted to apologize for them. I told her I'm not going to tell anyone in her family about this and that I don't blame her for her family's actions. She thanked me and hung up. I don't know why, but I have this feeling she only did this to protect her family from being reported. My mother wrote to me earlier that she wants to report the insults and harassment from these people and that she demands my brother divorce his wife, or she will disinherit him from her will because that's not how she raised him. A little radical in my opinion, but I understand where she's coming from. This entire thing escalated so much, it's unbelievable. Edit. Some of you were wondering why I seem so calm and casual in the update when I'm being discriminated against. The truth is that I have been in a relationship with my boyfriend for 3 years now, and the things that happen now are nothing compared to what I've been through. I receive hateful messages almost daily, not only from their accounts but in general, and I learn to ignore them. There have been far worse situations, such as when my boyfriend went to visit his family and I couldn't go with him. We kissed each other goodbye at the train station, and when the train left and no one saw, a group of guys attacked me. I was sent to the hospital because of severe injuries, just to give you an idea of what I had to deal with in the past. And don't get me wrong, we will report my sister-in-law's family, but what they are doing now is nothing I haven't seen 1,000 times before. Update 2, 9 days later. It's been a few days. First of all, my boyfriend and I are fine. Luckily for us, they didn't go any further than their text messages. My mom filed a report against them. I don't know the current situation about that, as I haven't filed a report myself. The reason I am updating you is different. First of all, one person in my sister-in-law's family is actually going to testify in my favor and against her family. It really takes courage to do so. It's the same person who called me in the last update. Somehow they found out that she is into women, so there is no reason to hide it anymore. However, she said she's fine and is going to stay at a friend's house. I have so much respect for what she is doing. Imagine the strength you need to testify against your own family. I now feel bad for assuming she only called me to save her family from being reported. More importantly, what is the current situation with my brother? Well, my mom talked to him and told him to leave his wife, or she would disinherit him from her will. He decided to stay with his wife, and my mom made her threat come true. He is no longer in her will. My father did the same. When I visited them, I also told them that I wish this entire situation had gone differently. They assured me it was not my fault, but I feel like if it weren't for me, my family wouldn't be ripped apart like this. I haven't talked to my brother since then. My boyfriend feels similarly. He also told me he kind of feels responsible for all this chaos. I assured him it is not his fault, but honestly, I wasn't even sure if I could say this in my position. On the other hand, it was my sister-in-law's family's bigotry that ruined everything, and everything would have been fine if I could have just attended. But now it's time for me to grow distant from the situation. We will see what the report will do. I followed your advice to document everything. The insulting and harassing messages continued until 2 days ago, so I have much to say about them. Unfortunately, homophobia is still very much normalized in our society. I already said it in a post on my profile, but the reason I'm so calm and casual about the situation is the simple fact that I'm used to situations like this. They don't get to me anymore. If I let any insult get to me, I wouldn't make it for long. It's a coping mechanism. I've been in situations where I was sent to the hospital because I kissed my boyfriend in public, so insults and harassment like theirs are nothing I haven't seen before. Update 3, 2 months later. I think some of you are waiting for an update, so here I am. Keep in mind that this update will probably be the last one. Last time, I told you my mother was pressing charges against them, and to my surprise, we won. They weren't going to jail or anything, but they had to pay for their actions, literally. There was one incident where my sister-in-law's dad was actually trying to find out where I lived and asked my brother, who told him. Only God knows what he would have done to us if we had still lived there. But in the last 2 months, my boyfriend and I moved to a different place, which my brother didn't know about. Also, their social media accounts were deleted, though I don't know if this was part of their punishment or if they did it themselves. My mom also carried out the threat toward my brother and disinherited him from her will. After he came back from his honeymoon, he begged her to put him back in. She said only if he apologized to me. She invited my boyfriend and me over, and my brother sat in the living room with this mad look on his face. She made him apologize, but I didn't accept it because I could tell it wasn't sincere. He did it because he had to, not because he was actually sorry. I told my brother that I am disappointed in him for who he became. Before this, we had a huge bond and usually never judged each other for stuff like this, and all of a sudden he has such a problem with me having a boyfriend. I just don't get it. I told him that I miss the old him. He didn't respond to anything. He just sat there quietly, staring at the floor. After I finished, he got up and left. This was the last time I spoke with him, and it has already been a few weeks since this happened. My parents have paid much more attention to the discrimination I face since this incident. They wanted to learn more about the problems I face as a queer person, and I really love them. My dad even got a bisexual pride flag for me and asked if he could hang it in our bedroom. I love that I have such great parents. I just wish my brother had become the person he once was. By the way, since the case with my sister-in-law's family is over, I haven't heard anything about their lesbian daughter. She supported us during the process, but we lost contact afterward, and I just hope she's fine. Update 4, 6 months later. The final update of my story happened 6 months ago, and I figured some of you might be interested in how things are currently going. So I'm back, at least for this post. Some things have happened since then. First, I want to give you an update about the sister of my brother's wife. Around 2 months after my last update, she texted us and asked if she could come over. We talked for a while, and I was relieved to find out that she is fine. She said that she moved in with her girlfriend after the case was over, simply because her parents and the rest of her family had disowned her and threatened her with physical violence if she dared to return. However, the relationship with her girlfriend ended after a while, and she asked us if she could stay for a few days until she found something. She stayed with us for 2 weeks. During that time, my parents visited and offered for her to stay with them because they had a big house with some free space. She currently stays there because she wanted to study, and my parents had no problem with letting her stay a little longer. My boyfriend and I also support her financially a little bit. We included her in several celebrations, such as Christmas and New Year's Eve, and I feel like she is the sister I never had. What is probably more interesting for you is how my brother is currently doing. The truth is, I don't know exactly. We haven't talked since the apology. However, he actually tried to attend our Christmas celebration, but the moment he appeared, my dad kicked him out and said, and I quote, "This homophobic rubbish is no longer allowed in my house." I love my dad. Of course, both parents went through with disowning him. My boyfriend and I are still together, and I feel like he might be the one I want to marry. This entire situation made our bond so much stronger. I plan on proposing to him, but there are so many ideas floating around in my head for the proposal that I can't really decide which one. Also, the social media accounts of my sister-in-law's family had disappeared entirely. I assume they have already made new ones under new names. I'm just glad all of this is finally over. I don't have any compassion left for my brother. I just wish he had never developed this way. Everything that happened to him, he brought on himself. If you want, I can update you when I'm engaged. Thanks for reading. I wish you all the best. Edit, 2 months later. Do you remember when I told you in my last update 2 months ago that I would propose to my boyfriend? Well, I did it today. I brought up so many ideas that it was really hard to decide, so I gave him some subtle hints, not too obvious, just enough to see how he reacted and then decide based on his reaction. In the end, I made a photo album of us featuring the most important events in our relationship. Each of them had a thought of mine and a caption below them. Some of them were meaningful, but some of them were just random. Like one photo of us eating at his favorite restaurant on his birthday, and the caption just says something like, "Damn, that pizza was good." That made him laugh. We walked to his favorite spot in town, which is a wonderful lake. That is where I gave him the album and told him it was a present and to look through it. He was focused and didn't notice what I was doing behind him, as I just told him I was getting something I forgot. I positioned myself behind him, and that is when the last page came into play. That page had a photo of me holding the ring in the same way I positioned myself behind him, looking straight at the camera. The caption says, "Hopefully he says yes." He turned around in disbelief and started crying almost immediately when he saw me. I couldn't even finish the question, and he already said yes. It was exactly how I hoped it would go. I always dreamt of making my proposal like something out of a romance novel, and I was successful. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to marry him. I already told my entire family, except for my brother, of course. They were so happy about it, especially my mom and new sister, who shrieked out of excitement on the phone. I assume my brother knows anyway, considering I shared it on Facebook. You guys are probably right that he might plan something, but if he does, it won't stop us. Edit, 1 week later. I just have to tell you guys this. We're currently planning our wedding, and instead of a regular wedding dance, we decided we want to have a lightsaber battle against each other. Of course, it's not just a random lightsaber battle. It's like a choreography that we have to learn. We're both huge Star Wars fans. My dad, who also loves Star Wars, said he wants to join and he had an idea of how to do that. He said to add a story to it where he wants to have a lightsaber battle against my fiancée, where my fiancée has to fight for the right to marry me. My dad would eventually lose, and then I would step in to test my fiancée's strength myself. There would be a lightsaber battle between us, and then I would acknowledge his force as worthy enough. I know some might think it's childish, but I'm so excited for it. Our wedding will be a day for people to remember. Edit. I haven't talked to you for about 2 months. That is because my boyfriend and I are fully invested in planning the wedding. We have a date for it. It's going to be next year. Still, I have so many followers on this account, and I kind of want to include you in my journey. My sister is currently helping. I don't know if I should mention it here, but my mother recently called me to tell me that my brother apparently got divorced. I have no idea what's going on with him, though. Not that I care much, but I guess for some of you it's probably interesting. I'm sorry, but too much happened, and I really don't want to have anything to do with him anymore. But enough about me. How are you guys currently doing? Edit, 8 months later. I remember how you guys told me my brother might plan something. He did. I'm still in shock. I'll post an update soon, but for now, I have to calm myself down a little. I'm glad for my husband comforting me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, congratulations on the wedding, and I'm sorry he ruined your wedding. Did you have the lightsaber battle? That sounded awesome. Commenter 2, I'm happy you got to have your wedding. It sucks he was a jerk, but I hope it didn't overshadow an amazing day with your beloved. Ops response, unfortunately, it did. He wasn't just a jerk, unfortunately. Update 5, 1 year later. So the last time I actively posted an update was about a year ago. If you haven't followed my account in the meantime, I'll briefly summarize what happened. I got engaged shortly after the update, and now, a year later, we're married. I'll be honest. I'm still shaken up. I wouldn't update on this subreddit if something significant hadn't happened. It's amazing that many of my followers already warned me that my brother might be planning something, but I never would have thought it could be so evil. The wedding took place a few days ago. We canceled our honeymoon for now until we settled things because, right now, we wouldn't enjoy it. While we were sitting at the table, eating and talking with our parents about the future, one of the security guards, yes, we did hire some as one of you suggested, approached me and informed me that someone outside was begging for admission. When I asked who, the guard hesitated briefly and informed me that it was my brother. I told the guard that I would go with him to resolve the situation, but my father, who overheard the conversation, told me to stay put because it was my day and I shouldn't have to deal with it. A little later, shouting was heard from outside. My mother asked me to stay seated. She would go see what was going on, and when she came back, her face pale as chalk, she told me that my brother and my father were shouting at each other outside. My brother demanded to be let in, and my father told him to go away. At some point, my brother left, and my father tried to calm down, but you could still see the veins in his neck with anger. He explained what had happened. We thought that would be the end of it, but no, it was going to get worse, much worse, in fact. My brother had somehow managed to get past the security guards. When I noticed him, he was approaching with frantic steps, and my father tackled him to the ground. The music in the room stopped, and all eyes were on us. I called the security guards. My father was on top of him, shouting. My mother covered her mouth in shock. My now husband stood protectively in front of me. The security guards escorted him outside and called the police because they had noticed that he had a pocket knife, which he dropped when my father tackled him to the ground. I didn't say that he had tried to attack me with it, but I assumed that that was what would have happened. He was arrested for attempted assault. He kept looking at me. He was no longer recognizable. His eyes were full of anger and hatred. The party was ruined. The police asked all the witnesses for statements and then sent all the guests home. We currently have to settle some stuff with the police and decided to take our honeymoon later because, right now, we are not in the state to enjoy it with everything that happened. Anyway, after everything, I'm not only disappointed in what my brother became, I'm straight up terrified. I'm trying to tell myself that he didn't actually try to, well, end me. But how exactly do you deal with a situation like this? My husband and I are trying to get past this, and he is so sweet, but I can tell it affected him too. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you guys because some of you predicted something like this and advised me to hire security guards, but I really underestimated it. I have to take a break for now. Thanks for reading. Update 6, 5 months later. Hey there, guys. So it's been a long 5 months since I last updated. Just know that I'm fine. What happened at the wedding was terrifying and something I need therapy for. I'm currently in therapy, and so is my husband. We postponed our honeymoon to about 3 weeks later. Everything went well. We testified against my brother. My father filed a lawsuit against him. He was sentenced to prison for several years for attempted murder. It's scary how my brother looked like an empty shell when the judge spoke the sentence. He wasn't looking at us, just staring at the wall with this empty look and absolutely no reaction to the sentence. He now is nothing more than a shell of what he once was. Despite everything that happened, he is still my brother, and I can't help but feel bad for him. I feel like I should have approached him a bit more. I just want to heal. One person can only take so much. This whole story will finally come to an end. I think I will leave this Reddit account for good. Not deleting it, just no longer posting. This entire story has stayed with me for the last 2 years. Things went downhill so rapidly that I need time to properly process everything. I want to thank all of you for your support and for staying with me till now. I wish you all the best.